Hi YouTube, VidHead85 here. I'm going to talk about Dan Savage for a little bit and his little slam of GOProud. GOProud is a Republican conservative agency or group that basically promote people who are against their rights, like Sarah Palin and Coulter, Romney. They recently endorsed Romney, and Dan Savage called them faggots. And so what, as far as I'm concerned? And a lot of the right wing are saying that he's bullying people, exactly what he would decry if it were a gay kid that this was being said to. That's the same thing that they've been saying, because Dan Savage is willing to take them on and mouth back to them and tell it how it is. As far as I'm concerned, he's not exactly a knight in shining armor for the gay rights movement, but he's not a pansy ass who just doesn't want to take on the hard issues. And speaking of pansy ass, he actually called a group of Christian students who walked out of his voluntarily school assembly. It was journalism students who were listening to Dan give a lecture, and he said, if we can conveniently forget what the Bible says about shellfish, what the Bible says about this, what the Bible says about double mixed fabrics, and we can forget or ignore what the Bible says about homosexuality. And then the Christian students started walking out, and he said, and he ranted a little bit, and then he said, well, you could tell the Christians they can come back in because I'm finished bashing their Bible. It's so funny, as a person who's usually on the receiving end, how pansy ass they get when you bash back. And I feel that is the truth. That is the truth there. A lot of people who call themselves Christians will say that they are only speaking the truth when they bash other people's beliefs, but when they bash back against them and call out their hypocrisy, then they're being persecuted. That's not the truth. The fact is, I don't see gay people trying to push their beliefs on every other person, making every other person bound under a law that simply because it's their belief. Just because gay people can get married doesn't mean every single person has to go and find someone of the same sex and marry them. That is not what the right to marry is about. So, do I agree with what Dan said? Yes, I do, because of the simple fact that we don't see Christians constantly being maligned in the state houses by politicians. We see, in fact, we see pastors saying that gays should be put behind electrified fences and left to die out. That happened during the Holocaust, but apparently history and logic are not really a good. They're not known for their accuracy in either or. I follow a lot of news, and there was a Rhode Island young lady who had been told that because she got a prayer tossed out of her school that she was going to get raped in hell for eternity. And that was, quote, Christian students that told her. We also see a lot of bills in state legislatures that say if you are expressing a religious opinion, it's not bullying. So even if you are bullying someone, we won't call it that because it's a religious opinion. I've never heard of gay people pushing anything like that, where you can say breeder, and because you sincerely believe that, you can not be told that you're being a bully. So that's the pot calling the kettle black there, because who is the one constantly changing the laws so that a group of people cannot live their lives on the same level as those around them? It is not an infringement on your religious liberty to have someone else who shares the same rights that you do. I've never seen any kind of conflict where there wasn't more behind the scenes, like the Parker trial. Simply, it was the guy was trespassing, and he was told that the David and Tanya Parker trial in Massachusetts, when he objected to a son reading King and King, where it was either read to the class or he brought it back to school or brought it back home, and they didn't like it, so they said, we're going to sue the school. And the First Circuit Court ruled in favor of the school because they wanted to pull their kids out whenever anything was being taught about diverse families. Catholic Charities quote, forced to shut down. They were trying to take state money without obeying the terms that the state had set for them to receive that money. So therefore, that's not knocked out of the water. People will be sued because they don't want to officiate a gay wedding. Clergy won't be forced to officiate a gay wedding. However, people are trying to get bills where florists and bakers and all these other, anybody who deals with the public but has a religious objection to giving a cake to grooms or to brides, will be able to say, no, I don't believe in that. You have to find someone else. And I used to think that that was okay, but now I don't believe so, because of the fact that it says now I can basically pick and choose who I'll serve, because I just don't want to serve them. It was also a Christian, or a person who said they were Christian, who denied a New Jersey gay man his meds, because she said that's against God and you're not going to have your meds for 3 days. It was also a Christian person who decided to put ballot initiatives on to the people, because they said, quote, the people should have the final say over what marriage is, quote unquote. But it has always been a civil contract. It will, between two parties. It will stay that regardless of whether that civil contract is legally binding on two men or two women. I side with Dan. They claim persecution when we overturn Prop 8. They claim persecution when we overturn DOMA. They claim persecution every time they're knocked down and told that they cannot do what they want to do simply because they want to do it, and they cite religious beliefs as their justification. Dan Savage was totally right. But I will say this, freedom of religion applies also to those who do not have a religion, and those who believe that their religious opinions that differ from yours are also valid. There are people who say it is against their religion to want to marry a same-sex couple, but it is also against someone else's religion not to. So basically they are trying to trump someone else's freedom of religion and use religious tyranny. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think Dan was right? Do you think that he was a little harsh? I honestly don't think he was. He wasn't talking to them as students. So therefore, I don't believe that was an entirely rude or off the mark or whatever, because it's the truth. And oftentimes when people who claim to be Christians are bashing other people's beliefs, they're telling the truth. But when another person bashes back and say, hey, that's bullshit, that's called persecution. Rate, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell me what you think. Let me know what you think about the GOProud as well. Have a great day, YouTube. This is VidHead85.